All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to cut through all the noise surrounding the New York civil fraud trial and focus on what really happened inside that courtroom. We're talking hard numbers, defense arguments that just fell apart, and what the final verdict could actually mean for a massive business empire.
So you can just imagine the tension in that courtroom. It all came to a head in this one really explosive moment. The judge didn't just tap his gavel, he slammed it, stopped the defense dead in their tracks. And you have to ask, why? Well, it's because an argument was made that he found so legally offensive, he had to shut it down right then and there just to protect the integrity of the whole proceeding.
So, what led up to that gavel slam? Well, at the very heart of this case is one huge number. The judge's initial ruling, it found that over $2 billion in asset value was just fabricated, made up on financial statements. I mean, that's not a rounding error, right? That's a whole business model. So let's break down exactly how the prosecution built their case.
And here's the thing. The prosecution's case, it wasn't built on some complicated legal theory or, some secret witness. Nope. It was all about simple math. They basically said, look, this isn't politics, this is just arithmetic. So let's take a look at the actual exhibits, the bedrock of their entire argument.
Okay, first up, Mar-a-Lago. Now, get this. When they were trying to get loans, the property was valued as high as $739 million. But then, when it was time to pay property taxes, suddenly they argued it was only worth around $18 million. I mean, come on, you just can't have it both ways.
Just to put that in perspective for you, that's a difference of over 2,000%. The prosecution's point was pretty clear. This isn't just someone being optimistic about their property value. This looks like a deliberate strategy, right? Get great loans with a high value and pay low taxes with a low value.
And it wasn't just that. The case also came down to some really simple, objective facts, like the Trump Tower triplex. The financial documents claimed it was 30,000 square feet. That number basically tripled its value on paper. The actual size, a little under 11,000 square feet. And see, square footage, that's not an opinion. It's a fact you can measure with a tape measure.
And here's another one, 40 Wall Street. The value there was pumped up by nearly $200 million. So how'd they do it? Well, accountants testified that somebody literally just deleted expenses from a spreadsheet. You take out the costs, the net income looks way bigger, and boom, the building's value shoots up. It's what forensic accountants call, cooking the books.
Okay, so you've got this mountain of pretty damning numbers. How on earth did the defense respond? Well, they built their entire case on three main arguments. And as we're about to see, each one was just taken apart piece by piece by the prosecution and, in the end, thrown out by the judge.
All right, argument number one. This was their big one, the victimless crime idea. They basically said, hey, the loans were all paid back with interest, nobody got hurt, so where's the crime? And on the surface, that might sound kind of logical, but that is just not how the law works. See, under New York law, fraud doesn't require a victim who lost money. The crime is the lie itself. It's the act of deceiving someone to get money or better loan terms you shouldn't have gotten. The speeding analogy is perfect here, right? You're doing 100 in a school zone. You can't tell the cop, well, nobody got hurt. The crime is the reckless act, the danger you created. It doesn't matter if you got lucky. Okay, on to their second argument. This one was all about the bank. The defense argued that, look, this is a huge, sophisticated, global bank. They do their own homework, their own appraisals. They didn't really rely on our financial statements. They spent weeks building this argument, saying the bank was way too smart to be fooled. They were basically walking right into a trap. And then, bam, the prosecution pulls out an internal bank email, and it just completely demolishes their entire argument. The email says clear as day that the loan is being approved based on the financial strength of the guarantor. And where was that financial strength demonstrated? You guessed it, in those exact same financial statements. Then a bank official gets on the stand and confirms it. Yes, we absolutely relied on them.
And this is why it all matters. Those lies had real consequences. The witness from the bank testified that without those inflated numbers, the loan terms would have been way worse. We're talking much, much higher interest rates. The money they saved by lying, about $168 million in interest payments, that is what the law calls ill-gotten gains. It's the direct profit from the fraud.
So at this point, the defense is in trouble. They've lost on the facts, they've lost on the bank's reliance, so they fall back to their last line of defense, a disclaimer clause. They point to some fine print buried in the documents that basically warned people not to rely on the numbers. Their argument was essentially that this little clause gave them a free pass to lie.
But the law is really, really clear on this. You can't use a disclaimer to cover for intentional fraud.
Think about it this way. You can't sell someone a rock, tell them it's a diamond, and then when they find out, you point to some tiny fine print that says, by the way, this might actually be a rock. It just doesn't work that way. The lie has already done its damage.
And that's exactly what the judge said. He ruled that those disclaimers offer zero protection from liability for intentional fraud, especially not for something as blatant as tripling the square footage of your own apartment. And with that, the defense was pretty much out of arguments.
So with the defense's case completely falling apart, the big question became, what are the consequences going to be? And we're not just talking about a big fine here, no. We're talking about something much, much more severe. It's a remedy that legal experts have started calling the corporate death penalty.
This is the real threat to the whole empire. Under New York law, the judge has the power to literally cancel the business licenses for the companies that own all the key properties. So you see, it's not really about the money anymore. It's about whether they're even allowed to do business in the state of New York.
So, how would that actually work? Well, here's how it would go down. Step 1, the business certificates get canceled. Step 2, the court puts an independent person, a receiver, in charge. This person literally takes the keys. They take control of the buildings, the bank accounts, everything. And then their job is to manage and sell off the assets. All control is just gone, completely.
And a huge part of that is something called disgorgement. Now, this is really important. It's not a fine. Think of it as a refund. The court forces you to give back every single cent you made from the fraud. That includes that $168 million in interest savings we talked about. And if there's not enough cash sitting around to pay it back, the receiver just sells the buildings. It's really that simple.
So, when you step back and look at the whole thing, what's the big takeaway? What this case really represents is this massive collision between two totally different worlds. You have the world of PR and public statements on one side, and the cold, hard world of courtroom evidence on the other.
On one side, you've got the world of, well, bluster, right? Press conferences, rallies, places where you can basically say whatever you want and there aren't many consequences. But then you have the courtroom, and that is built on bedrock. Signed documents, bank records, sworn testimony. In there, objective facts are the only things that matter.
And there's this quote from a legal analyst that just sums it all up perfectly. You can bluster in a press conference, but you can't bluster a balance sheet. I mean, at the end of the day, a square foot is a square foot. A dollar is a dollar. The math doesn't care about politics. And the numbers on a balance sheet, they just don't lie.
And so this whole case really leaves us with a massive question about accountability. When the trust in our financial system gets broken on this kind of scale, what is the right punishment? Is it enough just to make them pay back the money? Or does true justice mean you have to revoke their license to do business for good?